everybody's going back to their seat, I have a couple more dad jokes. How do you know that Adams are Catholic? They all have Mass. What kind of car would Jesus drive? Because they're all in the Accord. Those are the disciples. Good one though. A Chrysler. All right. I just pulled 4. But you can Google it too and get more if you want some. So today we are talking about Thomas, which is what we always talk about the week after Easter. And Thomas asks questions, and that's kind of what Holy Humor is, because a joke is asking a question. And so we're really going to talk a lot about asking questions today. So as we go through it, I'm going to ask some questions, and I'm hoping that someone out there can give me the correct answer for what I'm asking. So we're going to go back up 3 weeks, because I want to set out for you everything that has happened in worship, because that puts the Bible out there. So 3 weeks ago, a friend of Jesus's died. Who was that person? It was Lazarus, and Jesus was very upset about it. And this is actually the first time that we see Thomas in the book of John, because Thomas is the one there, and Jesus goes, I need to go, Lazarus has died, and Thomas goes, well, we want to go with you. Okay, because they know that when Lazarus dies and Jesus goes back for this, that Jesus is going to be upset because Lazarus was his good friend. So they go back with him, and Lazarus has died. Okay, was everybody happy that Jesus brought Lazarus back from the dead? No. Who was not happy? The Pharisees and the Romans, they were not happy about this at all. And in fact, they were so angry that they decided they were going to kill Jesus because of it. It had been building up, and they decided to do it. Was Jesus afraid of them? No. And so what he did is he went and got a donkey or a colt, just depending on what book you're reading. And he has a parade that comes in, and what do we call that parade? Palm Sunday. So he comes in on this donkey, not very quietly, and draws attention to himself. And so does this make the powers that be happy or sad? Sad and really angry. And so they decide that they are going to kill him. So Jesus and his disciples get together, and they are having a meal. What kind of meal are they having? Passover. Okay, and what does Passover commemorate? At the Exodus from Egypt, right, when they did the blood over the doorway, and the angel of death passed their house, and they were able to leave the Pharaoh. And so that's why we have unleavened bread, and that's why we have wine, because that's the only thing that they had time to get, that the Jewish people had time to get when they left Pharaoh. So Jesus, who is Jewish, sits down at the table with his disciples, and they have this Passover meal. Now, among this group that are sitting with him are Judas, and what does Judas do? Betrays him. And Peter, and what does Peter do? Denies him. So a person that betrays him and a person that denies him, and he sits at that table with them, and he serves them, and he blesses them, and he forgives them. Wow, I don't know if I could do that, but Jesus did. Okay, then everybody sings a song, and then they go out to the Garden of Gethsemane. And when they're in the Garden of Gethsemane, at that point in time, what happens there? The disciples fall asleep. Jesus asks them to pray, and then the bad guys come, and there's some kind of altercation with a sword and an ear, and it gets put back on, and all kinds of stuff. And then Jesus gets taken. And so then we go to the next day, which is Good Friday. And Jesus what are some of the things they do to Jesus? They beat him, put a crown of thorns on his head, make him carry the cross, take all of his clothes, cast lots for his clothes. They do just really mean things to him. They put him up on the cross, and they hammer nails in his hands and his feet, and they stick him in the side with the sword, and Jesus dies. And right at sunset, they take him off of the cross, and they go and they put him in a tomb, and then they can't touch him because Passover has started. So that's the end of Friday, which is the first day, and it goes to the sunset on Saturday, but they didn't have street lights like we did, and they didn't have phones they could get out and hit the little flashlight on it. So they couldn't see, so they couldn't do anything till sunlight the next day. And so that's where on Easter Sunday you've got one Mary or two Marys or three Marys. It just depends on which gospel you're reading as to how many Marys there were. But the Marys go and they see that Jesus is no longer there because they're going to anoint his body. And it depends on, again, which gospel you're reading. Maybe there's one person, maybe there's two people, maybe they're an angel. But anyway, somebody comes and says Jesus is not here. And so it comes up to today's gospel. And so we're in Easter afternoon. And when someone dies, all of the friends and family kind of get together, don't they? They go one place and they get together. And so that's what the disciples have done. They've gone into a house and they're all there and they're all talking, everybody but Thomas. Now here's a question for you. What do you think Thomas was doing? Somebody said he was the one sent to go make the beer run. Except it was Sunday, except that wasn't their holy day, so it could be. Another person said he was getting food. Now, Thomas means twin, so maybe he was doing something with his twin. I don't know. But Thomas wasn't there, and Jesus came and said, "Peace be with you." And he showed them their hands and his feet, and they just didn't know what to do. And so Jesus leaves, and Thomas comes in, and Thomas is kind of like, hey, no fair. I wanted to see his hands and feet. And then he says, I'm not going to believe if I don't see his hands and feet. And so they're still in this house. Now, they're in this house, one, because they're afraid. They don't know what's going to happen to them because they just saw the person they were following get killed. So they're not really thrilled about going out and claiming who he is. Plus, Peter's already denied him 3 times at this point. So they're all together, and a week later, Jesus comes. And Thomas is there this time, and Thomas gets to see his hands and his feet and the side where he was put with the spear. And he goes, I believe. Now, I've got to tell you, I kind of like Thomas, more because I understand Thomas, but also because I have a grandson named Thomas. And Thomas's mom calls him Mosi. So I wonder, from Thomas, I wonder if Thomas's mom ever called him Mosi. Hey, Mosi, you and your twin come over here. I don't know, just makes him a little more realistic. And our Thomas actually is in musical theater, and our Thomas likes to sing, and he's in the choirs at church and at school. And he just finished Moana. So somehow this just makes me associate that Thomas with being very creative and very musical and talented. I don't know if he is or not, but in my mind he is. And so the questions start coming as to what was Thomas like and what did Thomas decide to do. Well, we know what he decided to do later. He went out and spread the word of Jesus. But questions keep coming up around Easter when we come forward into our world, and this is where I'm going to need some volunteers, is one of the questions I always get asked this time of year is, why are there 40 days in Lent, and why does Easter move? Anybody ever have that question themselves? Okay. So, I need 6 people. I told y'all more, but I need 6. Come on up. All right, and so if you'll just stand 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. Boy, y'all did girls and boys evenly. This is a good group. All right. Okay, so this is why Easter moves. What happened was the first Sunday of Easter, or the first Sunday after the first full moon following the spring vernal equinox, the Paschal moon comes out. You get all that? All right. So the first full moon after the vernal equinox, which is always March 21st. Always March 20th, sorry. So March 20th, the first full moon after that is Easter. Okay? Correct. The Sunday after the first full moon. So March 21st, and I'm going to ask you to hold this in your right hand, is the very earliest we can ever have Easter. All right? Now, because of, actually, yeah. Sorry, March 21st is vernal equinox. March 22nd is the earliest we can ever have Easter. Now, you need to hold that in this arm. There's a total of 12. That's all right. I didn't explain that. Okay, the latest and the last time we had March 22nd Easter was in 1918. So probably won't have it in any of our lifetimes again. The latest date we can have Easter is on April 25th. So you'll hear the conversation, ooh, Easter's really late this year. All right. The method used to calculate the day is called comptus, which is Latin for calculate. And in 325 AD, Emperor Constantine wanted to standardize Easter, and he did that, 325, at the Council of Nicaea. All right. The Council of Nicaea was the first council of the Christian church, and that was also when the Nicene Creed was established. And the Nicene Creed basically just said that we believe in the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. And it established the unified beliefs of the Father and the Son. In 1582, the Gregorian calendar was introduced by Pope Gregory XVIII. And prior to that, people followed the Julius calendar, which was after Julius Caesar, and that started in 46 BC. So this was the calendar they originally followed until they started following this one. Okay, the difference with that, though, is that the Julian calendar left off 10 minutes a year, and after 1,500 years, this caused a problem. And the Julian calendar then made the seasons all different. And so what they had was it was really cold in the summer, and it was really hot in the winter. And it was not global warming. So the Gregorian shortened the year by 0.0075 days, recalculated how leap year works, and currently we are now 13 days ahead of the Greek Orthodox Church. Sorry. Julius Caesar did that. We are ahead of the Greek Orthodox Church. And so if you were in Greece right now, or in the Holy Land right now, they would be in the middle of the Greek Orthodox Easter celebration. I have gone right after Christmas, and I have been there for Greek Orthodox Christmas. So that's the way how that works. All right, so then you have Pope Gregory the 8th, he was the one that changed it. And so Lent, we have, how long is Lent? 40 days. That's correct. Okay, so we have 40 days that's not counting Sundays. And Moses, Elijah, and Jesus all meet at the beginning of that. And then Jesus goes into the desert and fasts 40 days after Easter. No, sorry, between that and Easter. And so that's where the 40 days comes in. Lent begins Ash Wednesday on the western side and on Clean Monday on the Greek Orthodox side. And the Ascension is 40 days to Easter, always on a Thursday. So from Easter to Ascension is 40 days. So you have Ash Wednesday, 40 days of Lent, not counting Sundays, and you have Easter. Then you have another 40 days, and not counting Sundays, and you have Ascension. And then 50 days later, you have Pentecost. Penta means 5, 50 Pentecost. And then you go, and that's the season of Easter. There are 50 days. And so that's why Pentecost moves, that's why Easter moves, that's why Lent moves, all of that. And then Trinity Sunday always follows Pentecost. And so Ascension is when Pentecost ends. So what you've got here is the reason why it moves. So it can go anywhere from March, it's the first, March 21st, the first full moon after that, the Sunday after that. So it can go from March 22nd to April 25th. This started in 325 AD. It got changed with the Nicene Creed in 1582 to 46 was when it started. 1582 was when the new calendar came from Pope Gregory III. Julius Caesar had the 46 BC. We have 40 days of Advent and of Lent, 40 days of Lent, and then we have 40 days of Easter, and then we have 50 days to Pentecost, 40 days to Ascension. So that is why Easter changes. So it shouldn't be confusing at all. So when someone asks you, why does Easter change, you can say, let me tell you, do you have 25 minutes here? There you go. Yeah, you can have your own little cheat sheets and everything. So here are all the answers to that question is, why does Easter move? And that is the reason why. So Thomas believes, and hopefully we believe, and now we know why we hear about Thomas different times all through the Easter season. So there you go. And all God's children say, Amen. Go. Thank you so much. Y'all did a great job. Next time I need sign holders, I know where to go. Thank you.